America feels different today. I can't really put my finger on what it is, but there's been a seismic shift in the last 24 hours since Joe Biden announced that he will not be seeking re-election, and it seems the whole country has rallied around Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate. Possibly the presidential candidate, as her campaign has announced that it has raised $81 million in the past 24 hours from hundreds of thousands of donors, most of whom were giving for the first time in this election. This is the most money brought in by any candidate over a 24-hour period. And it includes funds raised by the campaign, joint fundraising committees, the Democratic National Committee. More than 880,000 donors contributed, 60% of whom were making their first donations of the 2024 election cycle. And if you saw Kamala Harris's first speech since her announcement, well, it was one of kindness, generosity, great respect for President Joe Biden. We love you, Joe. We love Joe and Jill. Just the sweetest, kindest opening speech I've heard from anybody.
We are going to take our case to the American people, and we are going to win. We are going to win. And so now I'm getting back to you, Joe. I will tell you, it has been one of the greatest honors of my life, truly, to serve as vice president to our president, Joe Biden. Joe's legacy of accomplishment, just over a lifetime, but just over the last 3.5 years, is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who served 2 terms in office.
No anger, no aggression, no bitterness. And it's so interesting, isn't it, how we often hear from MAGA Republicans this projection of hate and negativity. And we've heard it from Donald Trump in the last 24 hours. He is absolutely soiling himself over this shift. He's furious about Joe Biden stepping aside. He's furious about Kamala Harris. We've heard that he donated to Kamala Harris years ago. That is something that he's now trying to kind of, silence. But I read an article saying that Trump now is having to pivot to really focus his hatred and his negativity onto Kamala Harris. And I was thinking to myself, man, what a terrible way to run a campaign. Instead of talking up your own policies, instead of mobilizing people and celebrating your policies, what you actually stand for, you just have to direct hate towards the other side. That is no way for America to behave. And that's the reason, well, one of many reasons why Donald Trump will lose the election in November. And the energy, the reason that people feel energized is because, when Joe Biden was the presumptive nominee, it was frustrating because it was 2 old men, and it was it was almost like a competition as to who was going to finish a sentence. Now, I think it's been invigorated because somebody younger, somebody female, and somebody with the skill and dexterity, who is agile, can deal with Donald Trump by just being a bit of a ninja. And that's the thing, Donald Trump needs to have it dished at him. He hates being told that he's wrong. He hates being told that he's a liar. And I think that Kamala Harris, with her experience as a DA and as a prosecutor, she is the one to take him down. And I firmly believe that when Kamala Harris calls out Donald Trump's hatred and his bigotry and his misogyny and his abuse, she is not lowering herself to his level. She is not the one abusing him. She is pointing out fact. And that is why this threat to democracy, Trump's wannabe authoritarianism, is not something we should be shy about talking about. Because, it is not, I keep reminding you of this, it is not hate speech to call out Donald Trump as a fraud, as a liar, as a rapist, and as an abuser. And so, with that in mind, I have every confidence that Kamala Harris is the right pick. It's not down to me, though. It's still down to that Democratic National Convention and a decision as to who would be her running mate. And I just want to say that, I predicted in an earlier video that it would be great to have Kamala Harris in the hot seat and Pete Buttigieg next to her. And, he's a family man with a husband and 2 children. And that would still be my pick, but, looking at the landscape, there are some interesting characters. It will undoubtedly be a white male because, that kind of addresses the balance of demographic and will, satisfy those people who are maybe dissatisfied with Kamala Harris as a choice. Why? I don't know, but, it takes all sorts. So I think going forward, it's going to be very interesting to see who she pairs up with nicely. Of course, she has to be able to want to work with her VP pick, and so she will be heavily involved in that decision, of course. And I reckon that she is going to choose very wisely. As I said at the beginning, there is a feeling now of momentum and of drive in these last 104 days before the election. It's going to come around very fast. And so with the amount of money raised in the first 24 hours, completely outraising Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump is a minority candidate. He hasn't won anything since 2016. He is not popular outside of that small MAGA base. And so really we need to encourage conservatives and independents and undecided voters to recognize that with democracy at stake, only the Democrats are advocating for maintaining U.S. democracy and its institutions. Donald Trump and Project 2025, they want to crash and burn the entire system and rebuild it in Donald Trump's image and that of a far-right Christian nationalist movement. And I do not believe that's what the American people want. And now I'm also starting to hear Donald Trump projecting, saying that, the Democrats are a threat to democracy. Well, he doesn't even know what that means. I mean, he doesn't know what much means, but he's taking phrases that he hears from the Democrats and is now reversing it and resending it out. And it's just not going to wash. People are not going to buy that. They recognize that he is a very small player in this band. So let's look to the next few days, and I'll continue to bring you analysis. And please comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesday co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.